Y'all ready over there? Okay. We'll call the City Commission meeting for Monday, June 24th to order. The time is 5:32. If you please rise for the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this group tonight, that you give us the wisdom to make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We do this in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Moving to item 2, proclamations. We have a proclamation for the City of Leesburg election for November the 5th, 2024. By the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Leesburg, Florida, I do hereby proclaim the municipal election of the city of Leesburg, Florida, to be held Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024, for the purpose of electing 2 members of the City Commission for terms of 4 years beginning January 6, 2025. I specify that the office of the member of the City Commission, now held by John J. Connell, shall be on the ballot as Seat 3, District 3, and the office held by the member of the City Commissioner, now held by James A. Burry Jr., shall be on the ballot as Seat 5, District 5. Qualifying begins Monday, July 22nd, 2024, and ends at 4 p.m. Friday, July 26th, 2024. All parties interested in qualifying for this election may do so at City Hall, City Clerk's Office, 501 West Meadow Street, Leesburg, Florida. No person may qualify as a candidate for more than one public office. A written resign to run resignation must be submitted at least 10 days prior to the first day of qualifying for the office he or she intends to seek, with the officer before whom he or she qualifies for office. Florida Statute 99.012. The election will be held in conjunction with the county, state, and federal elections, and all precincts will be open. Witnessed by my hand and seal of the City of Leesburg, Florida, this 24th day of June, 2024. You good? You need me to sign that right now, Anna? We good. All right, we'll do it first. How about that? All right, we have one presentation tonight. This is a certificate of completion to be given to Commissioner Allison Berry for completing the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials. You didn't know you were getting that, huh? We're proud you did it.
Mike. That's wonderful.
We appreciate you taking the time to do that, Allison. It's a great honor. Okay, we'll move to let's see, item 4, which is public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and would you please give your name and your address when you come to the microphone? Any public comment? Move on to the consent agenda. Item 5, Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items anyone would like to pull?
Make a motion to approve all items.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
Yes.
Mayor Burry.
Yes. Move on to item 6, which is public hearings and non-routine items. We'll start with 6A, second reading of ordinances. Would someone please introduce 6A1?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 15, Article 1, Section 15-16, entitled Sexual Offenders, to encompass amendments to Section 775.215 Florida statutes, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Do we have any public comment on it? Roll call.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Burry.
Yes. Move on to 6B, which is first reading of ordinances. Would somebody please introduce items 1, 2, and 3?
I'll introduce 6B 1, 2, and 3 to be read by title only.
6B1, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 40.61 plus minus acres, being generally located north of North Shore Drive and west of Beverly Point, lying in Section 14, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, provided that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 5, and providing an effective date. 6B2, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 40.61 plus minus acres from Lake County urban medium density to City of Leesburg conservation and estate residential for property generally located north of North Shore Drive and west of Beverly Point Road, lying in Section 14, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 40.61 plus minus acres from Lake County C1 Neighborhood Commercial to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development for a property generally located north of North Shore Drive and west of Beverly Point Road, lying in Section 14, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Annie.
You're welcome.
Does anyone need any explanation on this property? I think we're talking about eight lots that are going to be relatively similar to what's already on North Shore Drive. Is that correct? And these are right by the old softball field, right across the street from the Beverly Shores softball field. So, is the petitioner here would like to make any statements regarding this, or? No, all right. You want to get up and talk? Sure. Give us a.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get anybody sworn in that wants to talk, Mr. Mayor, before we do it. So if city staff and anybody in the audience wants to present any testimony tonight, if you would please stand and raise your right hand so we can swear you in. Right. Do you swear or affirm that all testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Burry, Commissioners. This project has been through a little bit of controversy in the past. The applicants did withdraw quite extensive plan some time ago, and they came back with these 8 houses that they want to do. The largest portion of it is going to be conservation. They can't build on it. It's wet anyway. So, as Andy read, it's 40.61 acres, and it's going to have about, see if Dan put that on here anywhere. 8 single-family detached units.
Right.
Minimum lot size of about 10,000 square feet. They're going to be 90 feet wide, 115 feet deep. Dark sky lighting, 35% open space. Tot lot with a playground and equipment.
Yeah.
It's about standard PUD, and it is pared down from the original significantly. So they did work with staff, and I believe they even worked with the community.
Thank you. Any questions? Any public comment on this? This will lay over, what do we got, Andy?
August 12th.
August 12th will be the second reading on this. All right, would someone please introduce 6B4?
I'll introduce 6B4 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding a PDO, Plan Development Overlay, with a waiver from Section 25-282, parentheses A, parentheses 1, PDO, 5-acre minimum, to the existing R2 medium-density residential zoning on approximately 0.70 plus minus acres to allow for an office use for property generally located east of North 13th Street and south of Webster Street, lying in Section 24, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Perfect. Got a little bit for us, or?
The background on this, as Andy just read, is a request for a PDO, a Plan Development Overlay in the R2 Medium Density Residential District. They want to add office space and similar uses to the underlying R2 zoning. It is east of North 13th Street and south of Webster, just north of the trail on 13th and across from the old bread store. 0.75 acres in an R2 medium density zoning district. It's undeveloped at this time, and it will add uses to the property to include office, which are consistent and appropriate with the overall development in the area and will not create a negative impact on the surrounding properties. Is Meredith Kirsty here? I don't see her. Okay. Mr. Polk is here if you'd like to hear from him.
Any questions?
This is District 1, correct? District 1? Is this in District 1?
I think so.
I think it is.
In
Yeah.
District
Kind of
1.
snake around in there.
It is. Webster and Summer. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check.
I think it is.
What was the question?
I was asking, was this District 1? I think it is.
I have no idea what district it is.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
So, anybody questions for Bill?
Nobody's going to live there, so they're not going to vote for y'all or against you or nothing.
I'm fine.
You're fine? Yeah, I don't have any questions.
What type of business? Office businesses, did you say?
I possibly have where my office is now sold, so I need somewhere to go and hide, and I need an office, so I'm probably going to build an office there.
Okay.
I don't know that I am for sure. I mean, it depends on the economy and all that kind of stuff.
And it's
It's
commercial across the street, next door.
It's all
Yeah.
surrounding. I don't want to build apartments there, and that's what's behind it. So I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Any other questions for petitioner?
But I have no idea what districts it is, really. District 1.
It's one.
Any comments from the public on this? Okay, this will lay over July the 8th, okay?
And I won't be here for that. Meredith Kirsty will be here, so better let someone know.
Okay, that'll work. All right, would someone please introduce item 6B, 5, 6, and 7?
I'll introduce 6B, 5, 6, and 7 to be read by title only.
6B5, excuse me. An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 49.12 plus minus acres, being generally located north of Post Street and south of County Road 473, lying in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 5 and providing an effective date. 6B6, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 49.12 plus minus acres from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg estate residential for property generally located north of Post Street and south of County Road 473, lying in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B7, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 49.12 plus minus acres from Lake County CFD Community Facility District and R6 Urban Residential District to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for residential subdivision for property generally located north of Post Street and south of County Road 473, lying in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
You want to give us a little bit of background?
Yes. This is 49.12 acres, so it's just shy of going to the state for review. Generally located north of Post Street and south of County Road 473. There was a lot of discussion that pushed the first meeting back, and I believe it came down to landscaping. The neighbor immediately to the west wanted bamboo, and a certain kind of bamboo. And the story I got, and I'm not sure I got the whole story or the end of the story, but the soils were inappropriate for that. And I think the applicants are here to talk about that part of it. But the minimum house sizes are going to be 1,800 square feet under roof. The lot sizes are going to be 6,000, 7,200, and 8,400 square feet. There will be 66 lots that are 50 feet, 60 lots that are 60 feet, 6 lots that are 70 feet. And the rest of it is pretty standard. 35% open space. There will be a 25-foot buffer tract along the north, south, and western boundaries. Split rail or solid PVC fence. And I believe that the applicants have worked with the property owner adjacent to them to try to work out how that buffer is going to be. And you're going to have the dark sky lighting and the rest of the standard PUD in there.
Any questions? Would the petitioner like to say anything?
Thank you. My name is Stephen Spazzato. I'm a planner with Level Up Consulting here on behalf of Sean Myers with Brightleaf Properties. Just wanted to confirm the discussions we've had with the adjacent property owner, Mr. Randy Bitter. We had our landscape architect go out to the site, look at it for the appropriateness for bamboo, and because of the characteristics of the soil is very dry, kind of a sugary sand. We recommended an alternative planting, and I think it's actually on page 7 of our presentation, where we propose some native materials, planting them at a more substantial size. And so I think Mr. Bitter was pleased with that, and so we have actually sent that alternate section to the city to be incorporated into the approval. But thank you very much.
Any questions from the petitioner? All right. Any public comment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I missed my opportunity to be sworn in.
Yes, sir. Would you please raise your right hand? You swear or affirm that all testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir.
Hello, Commission. I'm Randy Bitter. I live out 10155 Post Street, west of that property. So most of what's out there now, if you've ever been out there, is very rural in nature, so lots of wildlife. For me, huge change. I've got 7 acres, single residence house. I had expected unreasonably that the land would stay nice and rural. It's not. So thankfully, the planning and zoning, as well as the developers working with us on the landscaping. And what's important to me is the developer will be gone in a matter of years. It'll be up to the homeowners association to maintain it. So I'm really looking for, as much enforceable language as we can get into the development plan, so that when we get into some kind of a situation where the landscaping is deteriorating and there's nothing left, what can I do as the homeowner, the neighboring property owner, to make sure that this type of landscaping stays there or is at least maintained. So that's what's important to me. I'm hoping that we can get some language into it to help me out there. So.
I'm just going to ask you a question. Do you care about the fence or not? And I'm trying to help you out here because I personally don't care about a fence. And you talk about, over time, the fences may deteriorate. I'm just throwing that out, trying to help you.
Yeah, the fence is not of, I would like the fence. So we've also talked about the fences. So if you're looking to the north, that 25-foot wide buffer zone, to the east side of that buffer zone will be a 6-foot vinyl fence, which separates the backyard of the house from the buffer zone. And then I have my own fence on the west side of the buffer. So basically, we've got a neutral zone with irrigated planted species that will thrive in the Florida dry soil environment we've got out there.
Okay. So again, I was just trying to help you out. I think the landscape will be fine, but I wish the fences to me are the problem, 5, 7, 10 years down the road. So I was giving you a chance to waive that if you wanted to. I don't know if it's that simple, but.
Ideally, the 12-foot concrete turnpike barrier, I'm all in. If you can make that happen, seriously, I'd be very happy with that. So, that's all I got. Thank you. Thank you.
Bill Polk, 600 Cascade Avenue. I believe this has already been approved, right? Last meeting. I was at the last meeting. They were doing all the HEPLA.
No, we pulled it at the last meeting.
Oh, you did pull it?
Because
Well,
I thought there was some language that you guys wanted to work out together.
Yeah, they were doing bamboo stuff and all that. I got all that. But
it did not actually.
Yeah, no, this is the first reading, Bill.
This is the first reading.
Okay. This is just for Leesburg. If you keep doing these 50-foot lots, you can barely build on a 50-foot lot. You can't plant a tree between a 50-foot and a 50-foot lot because you got 8 foot between them. To make Leesburg a really nice place like it ought to be with trees and everything, consider, the only reason they're doing 50-foot lots is to make the money work out. So they either got to ask more or stop building 50-foot lots. So just think about the 50-foot lot in the future.
Any other public comment on this? Okay, this will lay over on this one. August the 12th will be the second reading here in the chamber. We'll move on now to non-routine items. 6C1, we have none. Informational reports. Anybody have any questions with regard to the financial part reports? No? Okay. City attorney items?
No items this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
City manager items.
Before we hit the one that I listed under there, let me just give you a couple quick updates on a couple other things. Tomorrow, we canceled the Electric Advisory Board meeting, kind of on the bubble of whether we were getting a quorum or not. We moved that forward from, they meet the first Monday of the month. We moved that forward because the first Monday of the month, we've got our budget workshop meetings, and so we'll end up going back into the next one on August. With that, remember, we've got a busy month coming up in August, so we've got July. Sorry, I'm already jumping ahead with all the budget workshops. I think 2, 9, and 11, and then a special meeting on the 15th, plus our 2 regular meetings. The Personnel Committee met today. I think they had a pretty quick meeting, but the personnel survey will be getting out. I think the committee quasi put their imprimatur on the survey. So HR thinks probably give us about 30 to 45 days to get that survey out. The HR director, Melissa, and Rob, the deputy city manager, will be going around to the individual departments, getting everybody up to speed on it when the time comes to encourage everybody to fill out the survey, which will be done electronically. The next thing, the reason I missed the meeting, even though they had a quorum, was to meet with Catrali. Obviously, Catrali closing is a significant issue. Aside from the jobs and all the kind of the general fund issues that go along with that, and the building not hopefully, where that state could be and all that kind of other stuff, I think the immediate, as my memos have been to the commission, the immediate issue for the city is the utility impact on us from not selling the bulk sales of gas as well as electricity to Catrali. We have 2 separate agreements on that. I won't give you all the details on that. All my memos to you on this topic are up to date. Essentially, where I want to drive the city and Catrali to, of course, with your approval, will be one overlaying agreement, hopefully, that we can get to, where essentially, we stop the bulk service for gas. And because our position is that Catrali didn't provide us reasonable notice, we shouldn't be held financially liable for any gap they may have in trying to sell their capacity on Florida Gas Transmission's line. The reaction to Catrali from that seemed to be reasonable. We also know that Catrali is working with FGU, and they're already trying to find buyers for their capacity. It should be relatively easy, knock on wood, especially in the summertime, because the big power companies are looking for capacity to transport gas for generation. But in any case, we don't want to be holding the bag. The other issue I think is a little stickier is the electric service agreement. They have a special agreement where they pay a discount rate whether they generate and when they don't generate. It's called our interconnection service agreement. It's rather complex. With Catrali not doing their own generation, it's really going to be in the city's best interest to see that agreement expires. We can call that agreement when they stop their interconnection activity or their generation activity. So we had some initial conversations with them about doing that. We anticipate, and they capitulated, that their load is going to be significantly of different characteristics. So it's probably going to more closely match our general service customer or commercial customer. So we want to ensure that agreement dies. We can revisit a different agreement if they ever open their doors back up. We need to discuss some of the facilities that are left in our power plant, their transformer, some environmental issues. And then at the end of the day, when they're on the city's normal general service customer, they really need to be paying that rate versus a rate that maybe there would be argument for on staying on to the special rate they're at, which is not in the city's interest. So Grant's going to be typing up some parameters of an agreement that we would like Catrali to issue, and any decision that's made on that will come back to you. And if you guys have any more detailed questions on that, then just give me a shout. Those are the lingering items. The specific reason I wanted to get some direction from you tonight was for Bike Fest. I think the general consensus seems to be that perhaps you all want to move forward with Bike Fest. In doing so, we do need to visit, and I provided the numbers to you all last week, gave you a couple weeks to kick around the concept of how we want to move forward with alcohol sales. I think essentially there's two ways to do it. If we contract out alcohol sales, go with a private vendor, we think maybe the delta on that is about a 50 grand savings, or potentially to break even with Bike Fest, maybe shift some liability. To do that, though, we feel like we need to do an RFP, a formal RFP, to request a service provider to provide that alcohol service. The other option is to do it like we did this year, maybe with perhaps a couple of modifications, which is to partner again with the chamber. As far as a loss, the number showed you a loss of about 50 grand-ish. I'm talking round numbers here. And I think there's probably a couple of different ways you can skin the cat on, is that a loss? Remember, the two big payout items in that was $50,000 to the chamber, which is, using those Bike Fest monies to support the chamber. And we also, just a little bit south, I think it was about 36,000 and some change, we paid to civic organizations. So, almost 90 grand of the budget was going to civic organizations. And for the longest time, the concept of Bike Fest was to capture the money and keep it internally. Now, confuse matters a little bit. The city has pretty much always had a loss at Bike Fest for what I'll just call in-kind services. There were some mechanisms where the partnership paid the city a lump sum fee to help us with the in-kind services we provide. The specific in-kind services that I'm referencing now is the overtime expenses that we have. It costs about 70 grand to pay folks overtime. That cost, however, I'll go as far back and out on a limb and say since the inception of Bike Fest, the city has always absorbed those overtime costs in the general fund budget. And it may leak out a little bit to solid waste and some of the other budgets, but typically it's cleaning up and the public safety aspects with Bike Fest. So those numbers have been and have always been in the budget, and we've kind of lived with it. At the time, the partnership would give us 40 grand back to quasi cover those costs. Whether that, that was a deal that actually covered our costs, it's arguable with the rents and utilities and those type of things. So, we can skin the cat a million different ways, but that's a pretty high view of it. So really what we need from you and what Maggie needs effective pretty much immediately to get started for Bike Fest 25 is, we want to do Bike Fest, and here's how we want to do it. I don't think you need a formal vote, but if there's just a general consensus on go with the chamber or start anew, that's kind of the direction we need from you this evening.
So me personally, I think Bike Fest has always been our local event, and I would encourage everybody to continue to allow the Boy Scout troops, the local Rotary clubs, whoever it is, that we determine who should be a part of it. I think maybe we ought to have a little more hand in determining who's going to benefit, and give everybody an equal, opportunity for that. But Bike Fest does so much for Lake County, just in general. I think, we got to be behind that, and if we're going to do it, I want our local folks to have a good cut of it, rather than just farming it out to Wayne Bench or whoever. I don't even know who it would be, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with you, Mayor. I would just add that I noticed there's other groups like churches and other groups around town, around downtown, who are parking bikes, so we're not even seeing those numbers.
That's
so
right.
I'm just pointing out there are other groups that are making money, nonprofit groups making money on Bike Fest as well.
I think Maggie and her team and the chamber did a wonderful job last year. I would agree with you. Let's keep the organizations that can profit, local Leesburg organizations. I did talk to city manager about this earlier. My only concern with the 50,000 is I'm not opposed to the 50,000. If Bike Fest, we have rain and it does horrible, God forbid, there'd be a sliding scale. So depending on how much money we make, the chamber will make this much, and if, they'll get a set amount no matter what, but then, and I would leave that up to Al's discretion, and if we hit certain numbers, they get certain thresholds. But I think the chamber and Maggie and Miguel and their team and Chamber's team did a wonderful job.
Any other comments on it?
Well, I would not be opposed of a third party coming in, but what that party would look like, that's my questions, and what would be offered, and if possible, could we do one tent with chamber, with like a main tent, and then let the other locations be third party bar? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm going to say that's possible. I think it makes it cumbersome because I think if it makes it cumbersome both ways. I'm going to kind of pontificate. It makes it difficult because I think an outside professional agency is going to want all the take, and they're not going to want to give up part of the take. And part of their give up of the take is the 30. We're using the 30% number we came up with was from a provisional concept that was provided to us in the 11th hour last year. So our assumptions are based on what that company did. That's how we would kind of formulate our RFP going out. So my guess is that that's going to be cumbersome because there's going to be, well, what bar are you taking away from us? Where is it going to be located? Is this the top sales producer? And then I think kind of that argument goes both ways. So then if it's on the chamber, so then I think the chamber's position is going to be, well, we don't want that spot because it's not the greatest spot. So I think it's doable. I would really prefer to go A or B.
Okay.
I think that will just. It's not saying we can't do it, but it makes a tough job harder.
My question about that would also be, how does the liability?
That's what I was getting ready to comment. We're buying insurance
Either
for
we're
it.
liable or they're liable, and if we're both in there, are we both?
Yeah, and then if there is an accident, where did the alcohol come from?
Right,
I appreciate the creativity.
I'm just trying to think of a better way of control, although I do like the fact that other organizations benefit, but how are the organizations selected? It's just the same each time, and if you don't open it up to a time in which someone has a bidding process or to allow a lottery of some kind, it's just not open to all, and when people come to ask afterwards, all of the main spots are taken and there's no availability, so you're X'd out and you have to go park cars to try to make some extra. And that could be, that's good, but it's not the main dollars. So.
Yeah. In years past, the event was larger, and all the nonprofits got involved because it was larger. The event has shrunk a little bit, so I'm sure we can work through that and make everybody happy.
Well, that brings up a good question. Are we going to keep it the same scale this year, or are we going to go bigger?
I think probably same scale. We'll have some nips and tucks in there. We'll talk about that in budget time because we will be drafting that Bike Fest budget. We'll unveil that for y'all in the workshops. But I think too, if we partner with the chamber, you're going to have another agreement coming back like we did this year. I would suggest that if we go the chamber route, that we have a multi-year deal with the chamber, and I think the chamber's probably going to be open to threshold concepts and giving the city some input on who the beneficiaries are. I would suggest that you probably keep that at the city manager's office so we don't get bogged down at this level. picking what groups. You guys can always yell at me at the end of the day if the wrong groups, get picked. But I think if you all entertain who the groups are, that's just going to be a cumbersome process.
Just
but
make
we
an
can
announcement to know.
But we can get. Oh, you'll hear from me. But I think also you can weave it into the agreement so we have a little bit more hook than we did this year.
So, I mean, we haven't looked at in detail, I guess, the budget line, how we're rolling it in this year.
No, you saw the detail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that detail would just get weaved into the overall budget.
So what was the total price for the insurance again?
It was about $48,000.
48. That would still come from
That would
the
still
city.
come
That's
from
what
the
I'm saying.
city.
City would be responsible. We pay Chamber 50, and then we be able to disperse based on dividing with organizations and the tips,
Yes.
like we do. Okay.
I would caution having a new organization run one of the big bars. I think having an organization experience is huge on the big bars. I think if we're going to open it up to new organizations, they start with a smaller bar on a smaller scale rather than one of the bigger bars. But that's a good concept.
My thought was the chamber run the big tent and the other third parties run the outsides, the beer, the specialty drinks, and then whatever goes around to the other seats.
Any other comment?
I think that, so just let me, the general consensus is A is outside vendor, B, stick with the plan that we have this year, and we're going to go B, stick with the plan that we have this year. So your direction now has launched me into getting in touch with the chamber, and we'll put the put the basis of an agreement together, which will come back to the commission, probably the next meeting or two.
So we're not voting?
I got your general direction. I think your direction is to go with the chamber. So where you'll get the vote is on the chamber agreement.
That's not where I was going, but okay. I'm not.
It's not bifurcating it like you wanted to do.
I understand.
I
But
think
it's
that's
not
just
a
going to be
vote.
too
That's
difficult.
Just be clear. It's not a vote now. We're going.
It's not a vote right now.
I mean, if you have nonprofit groups that want to get involved, you just need to bring them, get them introduced to Maggie and get them in the loop right away. We used to have a lot of groups. I remember one year we paid out, it was in the newspaper, Joe ran an announcement, we paid $176,000 to about 15 or 18 nonprofits.
I think that's great. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying, I was asking, so this is going forward.
I mean, so
doing it.
I hate to put Sandy on the spot. I mean, Sandy, do you want to split the tents? Are you all?
Right.
Well, you also have an issue with liquor license. Oh, sorry. Hi, Sandy Moore, Leesburg Area Chamber of Commerce. I think the other issue that you would have is a liquor license, because in order to pull a liquor license for the event so that people can walk from venue to venue, you have to get one license that goes over the whole venue. I don't know if you would be able to just kind of say this is one license for this tent and this is another. That's kind of the tricky thing with the licenses when it comes to splitting it up. I do think we would be definitely open to talking to, entertaining other groups to run the tents for sure and have an input from you all. I think Commissioner Reisman for what he had to say about it is tricky. You have people like, for example, the military vets that run Town Square. They've been doing that for so many years. They have it down to a science. They're really, they just know what they're doing. And it's hard because I know Commissioner Reisman and I have run a number of them as just the chamber, that aspect of the actual tent itself. And it's helpful the more you know to be able to be really efficient and be able to do the best that you possibly can for your organization and also for the event in serving alcohol as well.
So I guess there's no further discussion if we're not going to vote. We're going to go with what the general census. That's what you're stating.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll bring a contract back to you, a partnership contract between the city and the chamber.
And we're doing this for how many years going forward?
I don't know.
Oh.
To be determined.
Okay.
If you'd like to provide some feedback on term.
My feedback is I thought we would have a say. I'm saying that I know what has been in the past, and I know how successful the Bike Fest has been for many years. I think last year was a great year, and like that organizations benefit from the tips and the fee. That's the purpose of it. But I also like the fact if we don't know what will happen with a third party because we never tried. But I don't know where else I can go with that, but just state my opinion.
The concern is with a third party, there is no money going to the local Rotary Club.
I understand. So we have to be a little more creative to come up a way for those organizations to be a part, and not just for pouring, but doing something else. My thoughts, that's all. I'm just saying. But I'm not opening up for
But what does that
doors.
get creative? What?
That stopped there.
I mean, not to be argumentative,
No,
Commissioner, but you heard the chamber director right there tell you she doesn't
understand.
like the concept of splitting the tents.
I understand.
So if we go with the chamber, she wants one tent or all the tents.
I understand.
Well,
Get all the money.
okay, I'm going to defend. Okay,
I'm just stating if it's not a vote, it doesn't. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, one thing I just want to point out, Sandy's, number one, proved herself last year, but secondly, Sandy used to ran the events for the partnership. So she does have a lot of experience, which I think reflected why it ran so smooth. If we just threw a new group in there, I'm not sure what we would get. I mean, it went smooth last year. Whether we give it to another nonprofit group or give it to a for-profit, it went pretty good last year.
Well, I was out there working, so I would agree. And my organization benefit very well, very thankful, but I still feel that if it's not a vote, it's just no need in.
But what would you like to vote on? What?
I was saying to stay with outside, to use our third party or use chamber.
You can
Like
vote
just
on
saying.
Okay, so we can have a motion. Somebody would like to make a motion?
I'm just
to-
asking that, why aren't we versus you're just.
We got 3 votes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what
I
you're
mean-
saying.
Why don't you
So you're
vote
right.
on it?
Yeah,
If somebody would
that
make
would
a
make it-
motion to go
yeah.
with the chamber under the parameters discussed with the contract that's brought back before the
Right.
commission.
So moved. Second.
Okay,
Any
now
other
back to you,
discussion?
me.
Roll call.
Hold on, just a second.
I know, sorry.
Nope, you're good. Let's see. Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
No.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Burry.
Yes. All right. So that is Bike Fest in a nutshell. We'll go to roll call.
Commissioner Eastman,
Good to see everyone out at the Pine Street ribbon cutting. It's beautiful if you haven't been out there. It was windy and tents flying.
Clean. It was clean.
We should have brought a video of the ending.
And then also hope to see everyone out at the Star Spangled Spectacular on July 4th that our special events department is putting on. And the baseball game starts at 5. See you there.
Commissioner Connell,
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Berry,
Nothing.
Commissioner Peterson,
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Burry.
Yeah, I got one little thing. We received in our emails a monthly activity report that I keep wanting to say Chief Hicks, but Deputy Manager Hicks put out, and I wanted to compliment that I like that, and I would also question whether we could make that potentially part of our website, where the general public might, if they want to know what's going on. It was concise. It, didn't get too in depth, but it gave you an idea of where you were with things and hit all the departments. And I thought that was a nice touch. So that's something I'd like to see go on the website. And that's all I got. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're done.